to straight up outwit Wesley. A battle of wits scene establishes its identity through its unique rules of engagement. This is the unique method in which our hero and villain square off to determine who is intellectually superior. Over time, the go-to method for a scene like this has been for the hero and villain to play chess. Princess Bride establishes its identity beautifully with something unique.
What you do not smell is called iocane powder. It is odorless, tasteless, dissolves instantly in liquid, and is among the more deadly poisons known to man.
The genius of this entire scene lies in its simplicity. Because Princess Bride is a story within a story, there's a frank openness in keeping with the tone. Things are stated plainly rather than inferred. The poison in the wine glass is the perfect game for the story, a chess match consisting of just one move. It's during the execution of strategies when heroes and villains reveal their true character. Princess Bride explores this with a touch of comedic genius. Vizzini explains how he will use his great intellect to deduce where the poison is, presenting himself as a master of thought who surpasses the greatest philosophers.
Have you ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates?
Yes?
Morons.
He then pulls the classic look over there trick, and while Wesley is looking away, switches their glasses, revealing himself as just a crafty cheater. Throughout the battle, Wesley's specific strategy is kept hidden from us. This is a deliberate writing technique often presented in Battle of Wits scenes. By keeping part of the hero's strategy held back from the audience, it lends an air of intelligence and resourcefulness to the hero, suggesting that they know something we don't. The back and forth is a crucial element of Battle of Wits scenes. If this truly is a battle, there should be an ebb and flow, moments where it feels like the hero is winning, and moments when the villain appears to be winning. Most importantly, there should be a moment when it seems the villain has won outright, that they've delivered the death blow to our hero. This is what we see in the moment when Vizzini switches the glasses. The fact that something has happened that our hero seems unaware of gives the audience that sense of, oh no. It's only when Vizzini falls over dead in the midst of triumphant laughter that we become aware of our hero's hidden strategy mentioned earlier.
Never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line!
The most important aspect of Battle of Wits scenes is that audiences come away with the firm conviction that our hero outsmarted the villain, not that the villain made a stupid blunder or that the hero simply got lucky. We want to see the hero succeed through resourcefulness, not luck. Imagine if this scene ended with Wesley saying, "Phew, glad he picked the cup with the poison." Fortunately, since Princess Bride was written by the brilliant William Goldman, we aren't subjected to such sloppy writing. Instead, we're given the genius and hilarious reveal that both glasses contained iocane powder, a poison Wesley is immune to. The brilliance of this reveal is that it completely recontextualizes the scene. The true Battle of Wits centered not around chance or deduction, but in Wesley duping his opponent into playing a game he couldn't win. What makes the iocane powder scene the go-to when explaining the structure of a Battle of Wits scene is the fact that it identifies itself as a Battle of Wits scene. From the start, the stakes, rules, and strategies are not inferred, they're spelled out plainly. Wesley and Vizzini verbally agree to life and death terms. Wesley explains the rules of the game. Vizzini explains exactly how he intends to defeat Wesley, and the back and forth and conclusion are equally clear-cut. Now, what happens when we take this clear-cut meat and potato structure and add a few layers of depth and complexity? Well, we get something very much like the courtroom scene from Better Call Saul's Chicanery. In this scene, protagonist Jimmy McGill is appealing before the state bar in an attempt to keep his law license from being revoked, while his older brother, Chuck, takes the stand to testify against him. This conflict between brothers culminates in a brilliant courtroom battle of wits. Now that we understand the structure of a Battle of Wits scene, let's take the same elements we looked at in Princess Bride and see how they play out in a legal drama. The stakes of this scene should be clear from the outline: Jimmy's legal career. If he loses his appeal, he can no longer practice law. In his great course, How to Write Best-Selling Fiction, author James Scott Bell states that the stakes of a conflict should always be life and death. In Princess Bride, we got to see this play out literally, with Wesley and Vizzini literally playing to the death. In Chicanery, we get to see a different type of life and death struggle playing out as protagonist Jimmy faces the potential death of his career. For the stakes of a battle to matter, all that is necessary is the establishment of effect on protagonist. For Jimmy, who spent the early part of his life as a con man, practicing law is his shot at redemption, his path to an honest life. He's not facing down just the death of his career, but the death of redemption, the death of an honest life. When considering strength of opponent in this scene, we find ourselves very much in a David versus Goliath situation. Chuck is established throughout the series as a brilliant and accomplished lawyer. The fact that he's testifying against Jimmy makes this an incredibly difficult battle of wits for our protagonist, since the battle is taking place in an arena where his opponent has home field advantage, the courtroom. Unlike Vicini, Chuck isn't a comedic threat, he's a deadly serious one. A powerful, bitter man who is jealous of his younger brother and wants to see him banned from a profession Chuck doesn't believe he's worthy of. In Princess Bride, our hero and villain shared the same goal, the princess. Here, our protagonist and antagonist goals couldn't be more opposite from each other. Jimmy wants to keep his license, Chuck wants to see him disbarred. Their methods for achieving their goals are the same, however. Each brother is looking to discredit the other. As they execute their strategies, we get to see the differences in their personalities and character come to the forefront. Chuck's entire identity is wrapped up in the law, so it's no surprise that his strategy reflects this, engaging in the battle of wits with facts, evidence, and clearly thought out arguments. Jimmy, conversely, goes back to his roots, crafting gimmicky con-man ploys to trip up his brother. Chuck and Jimmy's differing strategies clash on a single gambit. Throughout Better Call Saul, it's established that Chuck suffers from a severe aversion to electricity, preventing him from being able to use or even be around electronics without suffering extreme discomfort. Jimmy's strategy centers around proving that Chuck's condition is psychosomatic rather than physiological, undermining Chuck's credibility as a witness. Jimmy questions Chuck on the nature of his condition, asking whether he can sense and experience discomfort from electronics within a few feet of him. When Chuck states that he can, Jimmy produces a cell phone from his pocket, seemingly proving Chuck's condition psychosomatic since he didn't sense the phone's presence. Chuck counters by removing the back of the phone, revealing that the battery has been removed and pulling the rug from beneath Jimmy's gambit. This is the back and forth we discussed earlier, the ebb and flow of the battle that creates uncertainty in the audience. This is just like the moment Vicini switches the glasses, that moment in the battle when it seems the protagonist is truly going to lose. But just like Wesley, Jimmy has a hidden bit of strategy. After Chuck's revelation of the missing battery, Jimmy makes a surprise reveal of his own.
Could you reach into your breast pocket and tell me what's there?
After the revelation of the battery, Chuck unravels on the stand, accusing Jimmy of stealing from their parents and revealing his true character, petty, bitter, and jealous. An interesting aspect about this scene centers around the battery and Chuck's condition. Whether Chuck's condition truly is physiological or psychosomatic is really beside the point. Just like Wesley, Jimmy concealed the true nature of the battle. It wasn't about whether Chuck was truly allergic to electricity, it was about revealing Chuck's true nature and motivations to the bar committee. In comparing Princess Bride and Better Call Saul, we can see how vastly different stories can share the same basic structure. For a battle of wit scene to be effective, we just need well-established stakes, formidable opponents, clearly established strategies, and an engaging back and forth between protagonist and antagonist.
But it's so simple.
So I hope this helps. Comment below with your favorite battle of wit scene, and subscribe for more writing tips.
video is sponsored by Manscaped. Stay tuned for more info.
You know, if you've got Tubby Joe Schmo over there with a laser pointed at his head, and he might have to wait in line a little while.
Why is this guy literally Homelander? A lot of people tend to call The Incredibles one of the darkest animated movies of all time. You guys are probably aware of all the video essays on YouTube about The Incredibles, right? The ones delving deep into why it's a subversive masterpiece and secretly one of the darkest animated movies ever made. Now these are all perfectly fine, well-constructed videos, I got no quarrel with them, but something that always confused me is how so many people these days treat The Incredibles being a way darker movie than they remembered as some sort of massive groundbreaking secret when it's like, no, like, dude, a guy throws himself off a building at the start of this movie. There's absolutely a ton of darker subtext and lore you can get from the movie, thanks to its frankly incredible world building, but I think a lot of people tend to focus on all the stuff you can get on the surface level because they're now adults and can actually comprehend the dialogue and mature themes the film has always had, which is completely understandable. A lot of people still expect animated movies to be primarily focused on entertaining kids, and The Incredibles is one of the few animated movies they've watched that feels like it was also written with adults in mind. But yeah, The Incredibles has some dark stuff going on, and the scene that's always stuck with me since I was a kid is the scene where Mr. Incredible finds out about Operation Kronos, and we get a look at all the superheroes that Syndrome had killed in order to train the Omnidroid. Not just because it's a fantastic scene in its own right, but also because we never actually see many of the other supers outside of The Incredibles and Frozone. In fact, it's only in the sequel that we finally get to see some other supers actually using their powers. We also never see much of what life was like in the superhero glory days before they were banned. Now, the obvious reason for all of this is that we don't necessarily need to see this stuff. The Incredibles has a very tight script, and that's one of its greatest strengths, but the lore-obsessed freak within me has always been interested in getting a glimpse of what everything was like in those days, and more importantly, actually knowing who these heroes were and what they were like. Little did I know that for the past 20 years I could have gotten this glimpse at any time I wanted. Recently I've been seeing discussions about and clips floating around from an incredibly important piece of The Incredibles lore that I genuinely had no idea about, and not many people seem to know much about it either. I'm of course talking about the National Supers Agency tapes that can be found in the extras menu for The Incredibles on DVD. A classified compilation of taped interviews with many of the superheroes in the Incredibles universe, the majority of which were later killed by Syndrome or were already dead, giving us a glimpse into what these people were like, their powers, their personalities, relationships, and their weaknesses, and how this roughly half an hour's worth of optional extra content included on DVD adds so much to the existing Incredibles lore and provides some genuinely interesting and sometimes disturbing insights into what kind of people were behind the masks. I've had this in my possession for about as long as I have been alive, and not once did I ever think to check these out because I've never really been interested in the extras included with DVDs, which I know may sound heretical given just how much cool stuff used to be crammed into these extras menus, but that's just the kind of kid I was. Nowadays, given the frankly depressing state of DVDs and how there's just very little heart or soul put into their presentation or extra content, I would kill to have stuff like this back. It's so cool, especially when you start listening to these tapes and realize they had to get a ton of voice actors to read like 1 to 2 minutes worth of dialogue each for characters that are canonically dead. This was made purely out of love and to add some additional context to an already rock-solid film. Pixar used to be one of the best when it came to extra content included on DVD, and honestly, nowadays, even if they just put these kind of things on Disney Plus, I'd still be happy to get them. But anyway, I wanted to do a proper deep dive into these tapes and discuss all the little details I could get. There is technically a video about these tapes from Thai Records lol, but, and I mean no offense when I say this, it was basically just a re-upload of the tapes with about 4 minutes worth of additional commentary, and personally I think there's a lot more you can say about these tapes. Here's how this is gonna go. I'm gonna try to play each tape in full and give my commentary and analysis after one of them is finished. I may have to cut some of them short if any copyright issues arise, but I've noticed Pixar are pretty lax when it comes to copyright protections on these, so if I do run into any issues, I'll try to play the most important parts for you. In conjunction with the tapes, I will also be providing some lore drops from the Elastigirl prequel book set before the events of Incredibles 1 whenever necessary. This is also a handy piece of lore that not many people know about, and it's also a pretty fun read. I hope this is more of a chill video. This is very different compared to what I usually do on this channel, so please let me know if you enjoyed and found this interesting, and I'll see if I can make some more videos like this one going forward. But first, please allow me to fulfill a contractual obligation. This video is sponsored by Manscaped. And welcome back. As said previously, each tape belongs to a specific hero, and the information provided on screen and through their voiceover will be discussed once the tape itself is finished playing. I've also broken this video up into chapters, so if there's a specific character here you're interested in hearing about, then feel free to skip along, though I do recommend you watch in full. Alright, let's begin.
Do we have to talk about the Thrilling Three? Yeah, yes, I was part of that group, and it was well-intentioned, a bit misguided. You know, let's face it, it wasn't really the Thrilling Three. It was really the Thrilling One plus two in Gazer Bean's mind. It was less than thrilling. Less than thrilling, that's good. Well, let's see. I started out in Arizona and then migrated over to Los Angeles, which was great. I had a great long run there. A lot of work to be done. A lot of superheroes see Los Angeles as kind of a launching ground. And to be honest with you, I didn't have a lot of places to launch to from there. The solar-powered thing, you know, it's good for the environment, but it's not so good for me. It limits my ability. Great long run there. A lot of work. Work to be done. A lot of super.
Преступления и наказания. Кого запишут в экстремисты после новых законов о запрете на поиск в интернете? Выстрел в ногу. В Украине первые массовые протесты с начала войны. Мост Трампа. Сможет ли Америка помирить Армению и Азербайджан? И сможет ли Путин этому помешать?
И так далее. С Михаилом Фишманом.
Привет, друзья! Сегодня пятница, 25 июля, 1248 день войны, 7 часов вечера в Москве. В эфире телеканал «Дождь». Это программа «И так далее». Меня зовут Михаил Фишман. Поехали. Помните, как надо нести бревнышко? Весело. То же самое с кандалами. Их надо на людей надевать под музыку с танцами и хороводами. Вот и из закона о запрете поиска в интернете Кремль устроил кейс показательной демократии. Мол, никто ни на что не покушается. Отдельным партиям разрешили голосовать против. Видите, у нас тут живая плодотворная дискуссия о балансе между свободой и безопасностью с заранее известным результатом. Вызвали в Думу цифрового министра Максута Шадаева. Пусть расскажет, что это самый безобидный закон на свете. Шадаев объяснил. Понимаете, говорит, зарубежные цифровые платформы ведут себя недружественно и отказываются играть с нами по нашим безумным правилам и удалять то, что мы назвали экстремистскими материалами и включили в специальный список Роскомнадзора. Мы-то эти материалы блокируем, но все равно есть проблема. Мы не можем, это я объясняю мысль Шадаева, заблокировать конкретную страницу на Фейсбуке, конкретный канал в Телеграме.
Когда мы говорим про зарубежные платформы комплексные, это поиск, социальные сети, мессенджер, то здесь понятно, что, значит, единственная возможность остается в случае, если платформа отказывается удалять экстремистские материалы, заблокировать всю платформу целиком. Вот в настоящее время сейчас таких запросов, значит, к зарубежным платформам, в том числе в всем известный мессенджер, больше 20 тысяч. Когда, соответственно, операторы этих платформ отказываются удалить доступ к экстремистским материалам.
Всем известный мессенджер – это, разумеется, Telegram. Но сейчас, продолжает министр Шадаев, очень остро встал вопрос. Надо ограничить доступ граждан к этому страшному экстремизму. Тут мы на минуту остановимся. У нас вставной номер – интермедиа. Леди и джентльмены, встречайте звезду экрана, депутата Сергея Боярского. Он зачитает вам с трибуны название некоторых экстремистских материалов, которые находятся в этом реестре Роскомнадзора.
Убивайте русских, смерть русским детям, я буду резать русню, вандал на штурм, выпуски газеты «Майдан», музыкальная композиция «Нажрись за Русь в метро взорвусь». Статья «эссе стучится в вашу дверь, сволочи». Текст песни «Мой дед был штурмфюрер СС». Это самое мягкое, что я нашел.
Мне больше всего понравилось «Вандал на штурм». Сразу захотелось вступиться за вандалов. Да, захватили Рим, но что уничтожили все культурные ценности – это миф, поклеп, неправда. То ли дело талибы, друзья России. И вообще, надо делать скидку на исторические реалии. Но потом я понял, «Вандал» — это автор, а «На штурм» — это произведение. Товарищ Боярский, пометьте у себя, пожалуйста, Слава и КПСС – это не один член Политбюро, а два разных человека. И, кстати, как минимум часть этих материалов спокойно лежит на Яндексе прямо сейчас и подрывает Россию изнутри. И, дорогой товарищ Боярский, почему вы так плохо ищете? За вас уже даже Екатерина Мизулина нашла страшный экстремистский материал под названием «Основы ислама». Ладно, все, перерыв окончен. Вернемся к сути. Министр Шадаев говорит, это очень острый вопрос. Вот именно сейчас очень надо ограничить доступ к этим материалам, некоторые из которых, еще раз повторяю, прекрасно висят на вашем же Яндексе. Так вы беспокоитесь по поводу группы «Вандал» и прочей ахинеи. И по-хорошему, продолжает Шадаев, надо просто блокировать все западные платформы. Как иначе спасти Россию? Но нашлось компромиссное решение. Редакция, наоборот, идет навстречу пожеланиям зрителей, то есть пользователей.
В нашем понимании это решение позволяет отбалансировать, с одной стороны, не допустить дальнейшего распространения экстремистских материалов, с другой стороны, не принимать решения о блокировке больших западных платформ пока. Вот. И в этом смысле нам кажется, что это сохраняет возможность пользоваться этими ресурсами.
Пока, понимаете? И, конечно, продолжает Шадаев, поисковые системы не будут передавать запросы пользователей в правоохранительные органы только в рамках уголовного дела. И рядовые пользователи ни в коем случае не пострадают. Спикер Думы Вячеслав «Нет Путина, нет России» Володин тут даже попросил поподробнее. Ну вот почему не пострадают, вы объясните, а то общественность беспокоится. На что в ответ министр разложил все по полочкам, а в рамках хоровода и показательной политической дискуссии парламентской оппозиции удивительный день был в Думе. Даже разрешили говорить здравые вещи и приводить очевидные разумные доводы. Депутату Дованкову даже разрешили снять эту белую шапочку, в которой он шел на президентские выборы, и рассказать, что они с сыном так и не поняли, как этот закон будет работать. Что, надо учить наизусть весь реестр Минюста? Депутату от КПРФ разрешили самое очевидное. Например, почему это все прицепили во втором чтении к закону об экспедиторах? При чем тут экспедиторы? И даже разрешили вспомнить про Конституцию. Статья 29, пункт 4. Каждый имеет право свободно искать и распространять информацию, если это не государственная тайна. И вообще, продолжал коммунист, сейчас вот обидно было, почему государство хочет воевать со своими же гражданами, которые так горячо поддерживают войну и шлют помощь фронту? Откуда такое недоверие к собственному народу? Знаете, какой на это на все ответ? Понятно какой. Идет война. Ничего не поделаешь. Шадаев в Думе ссылается конкретно вот на эту публикацию агентства Рейтер от, внимания, 5 сентября прошлого года о том, как Белый дом уговаривает Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Cloudflare помочь российскому обществу обходить государственную цензуру с помощью VPN-ов.
Госдепартамент в 6 раз за последние годы увеличил финансирование только по программе развития VPN-сервисов. То есть в этом смысле коллеги говорят, нужно обеспечивать свободу слова, нужно обеспечивать доступ российских граждан к заблокированным средствам массовой информации, и одновременно коллеги удаляют наши каналы, каналы наших СМИ в Ютубе.
Вот так, продолжает Шадаев, раскачивать ситуацию. Позвольте, вы же сами фактически заблокировали YouTube, а теперь все равно криминализуете поиск в интернете. Ни распространение, ни агитацию, ни действия, а потребление информации у себя дома. И ссылаетесь при этом на заметку в агентстве Рейтер годовой давности. Убедительно, правда? Поддержите работу команды и так далее, поддержите «Дождь» и независимую журналистику. Наши зрители в России не могут помогать нам из-за статуса нежелательной организации, поэтому в первую очередь я обращаюсь к зрителям, которые живут за рубежом. По ссылке в описании вы можете оформить регулярный донат и в любое время его отменить. А если вы в России, то вы можете попросить ваших друзей за границей сделать пожертвования за вас.
Мы хотим, чтобы ничто и никто, даже Кремль, не мог помешать нашим зрителям смотреть «Дождь». Чтобы всегда оставаться на связи с «Дождем», установите наше приложение. Оно доступно в России без VPN. А в нем все наши новые выпуски, архив и многое другое. Установите приложение «Дождя» прямо сейчас и оставайтесь с нами. Хотите подробнее рассказать о своем продукте и установить прочную связь со зрителем?
И в продолжение той же дискуссии на следующий день уже Путин спрашивает у того же Шадаева, как же это все будет работать.
На практике правоохранители должны будут доказать, Леонидович, что был умысел. Если пользователь не знал о том, что этот материал экстремистский, никакой ответственности применяться не будет.
Видели? Путин кивает. Ему понятно. Это то, что власть повторяет уже вторую неделю. Наказывать будут только тех, кто с умыслом специально ищет эту экстремистскую информацию. А тех, кто случайно ее нашел, полиция не тронет ни в коем случае. Ну, то есть, если вы случайно подумали что-то экстремистское, ну, допустим, война — это не мир, а война. Ну вот проскользнула мысль в голове сама и ушла как не было. Тогда ничего не будет. А если вы сознательно, прямо вот умышленно считаете, что война — это плохо, то придется отвечать по закону. Шадаев и «Единая Россия» настаивают. Во-первых, речь идет только про материалы из списка Роскомнадзора, ну, где вандалы идут на штурм. Только они, и все. А во-вторых, если случайно открылась ссылка, то ничего не будет. Надо, чтобы сознательно, с умыслом. В отличие от Путина, вы, наверное, все еще думаете, как отличить умысел от неумысла. Сходу разобраться непросто. Где кончается неумысел и начинается настоящее мыслепреступление, как у Орвелла. К вам на помощь идет депутат Матвейчев. Он вам все объяснит. С азов. С самого начала.
Странно, да, если что-то запрещено, например, экстремистская информация, а санкций за то, что ты запрет нарушаешь, их нет. Странно, да, вот, если запрещено, например, воровать, да, а санкций нет.
То есть увидеть у себя дома в интернете запрещенный государством экстремистский материал, например, о том, что война — это плохо, это все равно, что украсть, ограбить. Но когда кто-то у кого-то что-то украл, хотя бы понятно, кто пострадал, кто жертва. А тут кто пострадавший? Вы же и пострадавший, объясняет депутат Матвейчев.
Наши граждане не подозревают, какой опасности они подвергаются. Людей можно с помощью алгоритмов искусственного интеллекта, например, до самоубийства довести, потому что если человека изучили по его ленте, по его вкусам и так далее, по тому, как он ленту скроллит, по тому, на каких он останавливается в публикациях и так далее, а потом ему подсовывают в нужный момент информацию, потом ему мозг взрывает.
И опять встает тот самый злополучный вопрос про умысел. Если враги России все изучили и предательски, на то они и враги, подложили пользователю экстремистский материал, а он открыл, это с умыслом или нет? Путин уже все понял. Мы еще нет. Но у нас, слава богу, есть депутат Матвейчев.
Те, кто нарушает блокировки и специально ищет экстремистскую информацию, запрещенную информацию, они будут наказываться. Специально ищут, именно специально. Обычный человек, который случайно что-то где-то увидел, хотя случайно он не сможет увидеть, ссылки не работают, они заблокированы уже.
Теперь поняли? Тех, кто нашел без умысла, не накажут. Но таких и не будет, потому что без умысла этот экстремизм найти все равно нельзя. Случайно только кошки родятся. Запомни, Шарапов, наказания без вины не бывает. И когда оперативник будет вам менять поиск экстремизма в интернете, а вы будете оправдываться, ну случайно же, гражданин начальник, вот говорил же министру президента, что за это не наказывают, он вам все объяснит на пальцах. В автозак проходите, пожалуйста, там разберутся. Почему тогда общественная дискуссия? Почему тогда коммунистам разрешается возражать? Потому что это не общественная дискуссия, а аппаратная, ведомственная. Все началось с этого поста Маргариты Симонян. Как же нам клеймить ФБК, если будут наказывать за поиск? Этот пост появился, конечно, тоже не просто так. Дело в том, что авторами поправок является ФСБ, тогда как цензура в медиа, в интернете, это сфера интересов начальника Маргариты Симонян, первого заместителя главы кремлевской администрации Алексея Громова. ФСБ вторглась на его территорию, и поэтому появился пост Симонян. И пошло-поехало. В итоге Кремль организовал показательную дискуссию, всем спустили, как надо голосовать, а потом дошло и до Путина. Закон как был абсурдным, так и остался. Кто будет искать творчество группы «Вандал» в сети? Песню «На штурм» или про штурманфюрера СС? Зачем выписывать 3000 рублей штрафа тем, кто и так на карандаше у ФСБ? И Боярский, и Шадаев настаивают, преследовать будут только таких.
Мы понимаем, что умышленный доступ, значит, к этим материалам могут получать, соответственно, организаторы, значит, экстремистской деятельности, те, кто хочет создать соответствующие там ячейки, группы, значит, и такие приверженцы идеологии экстремистской. И в этом смысле понятно, что это единицы, которые, соответственно, находятся в, так сказать, поле интереса правоохранительных органов.
Тут надо снова просто посмотреть, откуда идет закон. От этих же самых правоохранительных органов. Голосом Шадаева с депутатами разговаривает ФСБ. Только что Путин подписал еще и другие поправки. ФСБ облегчает себе работу. Теперь она сможет сама строить, собирать экстремистские сообщества вокруг конкретных людей с конкретными приговорами. Причем даже не ясно, что такое сообщество, членом которого является экстремист, из-за которого это сообщество будет признано экстремистским. Поправки про поиск в интернете будут служить той же цели – облегчить ФСБ работу. Все будет наоборот. Приверженцами и организаторами экстремизма люди будут становиться по факту получения административного протокола. Один из лидеров «Яблока», Кирилл Гончаров, пишет: закон персональный или, если хотите, секторальный. Объект – конкретные граждане, которые должны быть наказаны, но пока неизвестно, за что их взять. По ним и будут работать. То есть впаяют административную статью и штраф, а потом на этом построят кейс. Зря он, что ли, экстремизм искал. Просто это удобно. И это будет процесс самоумножения экстремизма. Одни экстремисты будут появляться снизу, нашли что-то не то в сети, а другие сверху. Вот, например, только что Верховный суд признал экстремистским международное движение сатанизма. РБК трогательно подчеркивает, представители ответчика не явились, сатанисты не пришли. Но кто это сатанисты? Сколько их? Куда их гонят? Что так жалобно поют? Генеральная прокуратура объясняет, в основе лежат издания, признанные экстремистскими материалами. Учение Маркса всесильно, потому что оно верно. Ну, только наоборот. Движение сатанизма тесно связано с проявлениями радикального национализма и неонацизма. Наряду с ритуальными убийствами участники совершают и иные преступления. Ну, теперь понятно, да? Еще нет? Вам объяснит руководитель Общественного центра по защите традиционных семейных ценностей Иван-Чай Элина Жгутова. В прошлом году она боролась с экстремистским движением ЛГБТ.
Что такое узкие джинсы? Это, извините, путь к ЛГБТ.
С ЛГБТ разобрались, признали экстремистским движением в ноябре. По делу о сатанизме основную экспертизу для Верховного суда проводила группа деструктологов во главе с Романом Силантьевым, экспертом. Вы, может быть, его помните. Он был автором экспертизы по делу Беркович и Петрийчук. Так вот, Силантьев знает, что сатанистов в России несколько десятков тысяч, они действуют индивидуально, либо небольшими группами. Но, как объяснила в апреле Элина Жгутова, у них есть зарубежный покровитель.
Тут вот саммит НАТО в Мадриде, ну это просто чтобы понять, да, вот Трюдо и Макрон, да, вот это наши два голубчика, вот они демонстрируют, так сказать, вот сатанинскую символику.
Ох уж этот Трюдо, голубчик известный, потому оно и международное движение. На самом деле это был музей Прадо, куда лидеры стран НАТО заходили во время саммита, а какой-то художник в знак протеста зафотошопил Рубенса и Тициана в музее Прадо этими черепами с костяшками. И вот я смотрю на эти черепа, а потом смотрю на Элину Жгутову из Общественного центра традиционных ценностей Иван-Чай, смотрю на пресс-релиз Генеральной прокуратуры про человеческие жертвоприношения, смотрю на подсчеты деструктолога Силантьева, на депутата Матвейчева, на министра Шадаева, на Путина, который отправляет людей убивать и умирать на своей войне, и думаю, может быть, сатанисты действительно существуют? Как пишет в «Новой газете» протоиерей Андрей Кордочкин, что такое поклонение дьяволу? Нужно ли стать членом сатанинской секты, чтобы стать дьяволопоклонником? Государство провозгласило себя абсолютной ценностью. Оно само теперь вместо Бога и определяет себя как борца с экстремистами, сатанистами, например. Кордочкин пересказывает эту логику.
Нужно правильно ответить на вопрос: ты с нами или против нас? Или ты патриот, или ты предатель? Как прекрасен наш Вавилон, как мудр его правитель, как прекрасны его стены над рекой. Они простоят до скончания века. Раз мы против сатанизма, очевидного кристаллизованного зла, то значит мы и есть очевидное кристаллизованное добро. Ведь это так просто. Если же у вас есть в этом сомнения, то мы не удивимся, если завтра выяснится, что вы сами тайно посещаете храм Бафомета.
Кордочкин пишет, как экстремизм толкуется по сути любая форма поведения, которая выходит за рамки рабского повиновения. Так что список Роскомнадзора с группой «Вандал» — это для отвода глаз. Спецслужбы будут проверять поиск в интернете у тех, кто им нужен, и шить им на этом основании экстремизм, а параллельно выяснится, что для того, чтобы оказаться идеологом экстремизма, достаточно просто следить за новостями. Так и будет, это очевидно. Но еще раз, дорогие зрители, помните, сейчас безопасно и смотреть «Дождь», и читать телеграм-каналы, и пользоваться VPN-ами. А если вы будете использовать качественный VPN, то и потом, когда это станет действительно важно, никто не узнает, что вы ищете и смотрите в сети. Но об этом мы еще обязательно поговорим отдельно, когда эта проблема станет действительно актуальной. Трое полицейских из разных регионов Белгородской области, Красноярского и Краснодарского края арестованы по делу телеграм-канала «Базы». Об этом сообщает агентство ТАСС. Сотрудников полиции подозревают в том, что они за деньги предоставляли информацию журналистам. В этот вторник, 22 июля, оперативники пришли с обыском в редакцию телеграм-канала «База». Двоих сотрудников, главного редактора Глеба Трифонова и продюсера Татьяну Лукьянову, арестовали по обвинению в даче взятки, якобы как раз этим полицейским. Как вышло, что полиция пришла в редакцию телеграм-канала, который считался близким к силовикам, в материале Алины Дитковской.
Это бывший
Переговоры между Россией и Украиной в Стамбуле продлились 40 минут. Меньше, чем идет школьный урок. С одной стороны делегация из 8 человек, с другой стороны из 14. За 40 минут они бы едва успели представиться. Напомним, на чем закончили в прошлый раз. Украина настаивала на перемирии без условий, Кремль подготовил меморандум. Все тот же ультиматум с требованиями к капитуляции, но еще более жесткими по сравнению с предыдущими. В Москве прекрасно понимают, что Украина не согласится. Задача состоит не в этом. Задача состоит в том, чтобы втянуть Украину в обсуждение этого меморандума и таким образом создать базу, на которой будут построены любые будущие договоренности. Именно это и делал этот историк, как называет его генсек НАТО Рютте, Владимир Мединский.
Помощник президента Мединский вышел к российской и зарубежной прессе рассказать о новом предложении нашей стороны – создании 3 групп, которые обсуждали бы онлайн различные переговорные треки.
Это будет рабочая группа по политическим вопросам, рабочая группа по гуманитарным вопросам и рабочая группа по военным вопросам в составе соответствующих специалистов военных ведомств. Украинская сторона взялась рассмотреть это предложение.
Это оно и есть. 3 группы для обсуждения меморандумов. Реакции Киева пока нет. Если Киев вдруг в это втянется, в Москве будут очень довольны. Но это вряд ли. Замглавы украинского МИДа Кислица уже сказал, в этом меморандуме неприменимо вообще ничего. Киев, в свою очередь, предлагает до конца августа провести личную встречу Путина и Зеленского, а с ними за стол пусть сядут Трамп и Эрдоган. Только так можно разблокировать мирное урегулирование. Кремль отвечает, сначала надо сблизить позиции.
Для того, чтобы подобная встреча состоялась, необходимо предварительно проработать условия соглашения и понять, что на этой встрече обсуждать, а на самом деле на этой встрече надо не обсуждать соглашение, а ставить точку.
В переводе на русский это значит, сначала Украина должна согласиться на меморандум. Поскольку это невозможно, единственным результатом переговоров стал еще один обмен пленных, а также гражданских. Это подтвердила и Украина. И тел погибших. Это все. Поскольку по существу обсуждать нечего, а имитировать работу по-прежнему нужно, российская пропаганда просто пристает к членам украинской делегации.
Good morning. And good night to V Shoujo, R.I.P. They just got tucked into bed for their final rest, the last sleep. They put out a statement today where they formally announced they are shutting down, but also they left us a golden little nugget in there that I cannot believe any sane lawyer would have given the okay to, where they kind of loosely admit to a crime. A little something called embezzlement. The statement was put out by their CEO, Justin Gunrun, and I have to imagine his legal representatives charged out of their office, briefcase in hand, desperately trying to get a hold of him to tell him that he just made a big boo-boo. needs to probably sit down and watch that episode of the Magic School Bus where Miss Frizzle teaches everyone about embezzlement by going up the butthole of a CEO or some shit. It was shocking to read that. But anyway, this is the final chapter in the story of the multi-million-dollar company that collapsed overnight. Actually just went down in flames and feces over the course of 24 hours. Once one of the big players in a multi-billion-dollar industry, the VTuber space, VShojo found itself in hot water that turned to scalding water that turned to lava and dissolved the entire company so quickly. No exaggeration, this is actually the fastest corpo death I've ever seen for a company of their size. Like fucking a spy taking 20 cyanide capsules wouldn't kill them faster than the bad business practices killed VShojo once they came to light. Now, let's go through the statement here. VShojo has failed and I've mismanaged the company into the situation you're all witnessing. That is brutally honest, right in your face, no smoke and mirrors. I imagine he had a glass of wine in his hand while typing that. But I would make the argument VShojo didn't fail, you failed VShojo.
Меня очень попросили, чтобы я уходил с работы раньше 9 часов. They had some of the top talent in the VTuber space, which again is a multi-billion-dollar industry, that had all of the ingredients to success, but he snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. So he failed VShojo through his mismanagement, would be more accurate to say, at least from everything I can see on the outside. But because he is now saying the company is shutting down, a lot of talent that was still stuck under NDAs was able to share their horror stories with how VShojo handled their finances and just some of their experiences there. So it's just been tons and tons of information about how poorly this company was led and all of like the really shady bad dealings that it engaged in. To continue though, so today I am sharing the difficult news that VShojo is shutting down, and I take full responsibility for the decisions that led us to this point. I've been doing everything I can to fundraise and right the ship these past few months, but despite my efforts, we are in a worse position, and those I care about are now paying the price. Over the past few years, we raised around $11 million to pursue a bold, talent-first approach in VTubing, prioritizing creators and community over short-term profits to achieve long-term sustainability. Our funding went directly to our creators through generous splits, debut investments, infrastructure, concerts, events, and staffing, all designed to support them. We also wanted talent to own their IP, which we knew was a unique creator-first approach for an agency. However, despite all our efforts, the business failed to generate the revenue we needed to sustain that model, and eventually we ran out of money. Additionally, I acknowledge that some of the money spent by the company was raised in connection with talent activity, which I later learned was intended for a charitable initiative. At the time, we were working hard to raise additional investment capital to cover our costs, and I firmly believed, based on the information available to us, that we would be able to do so and cover all expenses. We were unsuccessful in our fundraising efforts. I made the decision to pursue funding, and I own its consequences. I am deeply sorry to all the talent, staff, friends, and community members who believed in our brand. You did not deserve this. Justin Gunrun. The community note came in with a Phoenix Wright objection here about his claim that he later found out that that money that they were using came from Iron Mouse's charity event. Justin claims to not know the purpose of the funds, but he personally congratulated Iron Mouse on the completion of her charity fundraising event and reposted Ludwig directly mentioning half the funds would go to charity. So he can't really play the, oh, I was big stupid man for a moment there. I should have known that it was charity money. How could that have slipped by me? Ah, drats, I can't believe that. I'm really beating myself up over it. I should have known. Turns out, seems like he did know. But this is where the, like, diet embezzlement comes in. Not even diet. It's pretty close to embezzlement. You could make a very strong case for. Of course, this is a all alleged, but what he is fundamentally admitting to is that they took money that was generated by talent for purposes like charity fundraising, an obligation that V Shoujo would have to give that money to charity. It was not their money to use, it was not their gain for their company, but they took that money and did use it as their own. And the reason, and you've seen this before in other companies, it's kind of a tale as old as time. Once companies take in these investors and they constantly chase this white whale of trying to, you know, reach profitability and make it back. Well, what they did is they then used that as a means of trying to get more investors on board. Like, look at this, we have this $500,000.
Нет, не хочу. Не надо.
Сильно соленый.
Не надо сейчас. Сейчас не надо.
А яблоко?
Нет, не буду.
Что ты делаешь?
Не сейчас.
You know, reach profitability and make it back. Well, what they did is they then used that as a means of trying to get more investors on board. Like, look at this, we have this $500,000 that was supposed to go to charity, and also this money that was supposed to go to our talent, and it's ours. It's V Shoujo money. Look how well we're doing. Who wants to come in and invest? Come on, doors are wide open. This is something a lot of companies have done in the past, all of which is illegal. That's a big no-no, but they misappropriate funds and present it as though it were like gains, like the company's doing really well. Look at all of this, even though it's not really their money to be presenting in that fashion because they are entrusted with it to use for something else. But it's supposed to try and get investors on the hook, like, you know, start chumming the waters, like, get your pocketbooks out, investors. You won't be able to fight the urge to put money into this company, even though it's not doing as financially well as they're trying to make it seem. So that is what happened to V Shoujo. It's why a lot of talent did not get paid, I guess. A lot of talent is reporting that they also did not get paid significant amounts of money. It's not just Iron Mouse. There were quite a few that came out about it. In Iron Mouse's case, though, it was more than just that. They also didn't even pay the charity that she raised money for like they were supposed to. They instead used that money as part of their spending capital. It's a complete mess, and it really is like loosely admitting to a crime here. Now, the next obvious question here is what happens to all the money the talent is owed from this company, as well as the $500K that they owe to charity? Will that money ever be distributed? And the answer is absolutely fucking not. Probably. They burned through, Justin is admitting, they burned through all of their investment capital and they actually don't have any money left. Like, they've not only scraped the bottom of the barrel, they ate its whole ass out. So I don't know how they'll be paying any of the talent back the money that they are still owed. And I think my guess was wrong in the first video I made covering this, where I speculated they donate the money to try and save face.
they don't have the money to donate anymore. So I also don't think they'll ever be able to fulfill their obligation to the Immune Deficiency Foundation from the Iron Mouse fundraising that she did. And that's a damn shame. Good news though, like I said in the last video, the Iron Mouse Tiltify link has absolutely exploded, so the charity has received over $1 million in donations as a result of this complete fucking, hogwash from VShojo, which is great news. But it is still sad that it's going to miss out on what it is still owed. And all of the creators seem like they will be as well. But I could be wrong. I'm not entirely knowledgeable on how that's going to work for a company like this because I haven't seen a company die this fast. This company, over the course of 24 hours, literally exploded, imploded, shitploded. It died so quickly, and now they are fully shutting down. So, I mean, maybe there is some kind of structure in place that will, get the funds that are owed to the talent and to the charity. I don't know. I find it doubtful based on the statement from Justin here, but I guess we'll see. Hopefully, they can get the money that they are owed, but we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, that's the end of VShojo. That's really about it. So yeah.
How in Archon's name do I get up there? Or more to the point, how do NPCs get anywhere in Clover? What options do they have?
Wasn't that goal 10K? It was 10K. Stop laughing. Stop making fun of me because I put it at 10K. I didn't know, okay? I was like, okay, well, if we could at least raise 10K, that'd be great. What the heck? Chat, stop making fun of me. I'm gonna call Connor. And you're gonna be in trouble. You're gonna be in trouble. Stop XDDing! Hello?
What's up?
They're making fun of me. Tell them to stop.
I think they should keep doing it.
What? What do you mean they should keep doing it?
That's funny.
It's not funny.
I don't know, I'm laughing.
What the kind of laugh is that?
Just sad because the singing's over now.
You want more singing?
Well, yeah.
Okay, I'll do 1 more hour of singing.
Oh,
I'll do 1 more hour of singing, and then after that, I need a break.
Yeah. For real?
Yeah?
Oh, hell yeah.
You're just sad because you don't want to stop playing TFT.
No.
You're not playing TFT?
I was earlier.
Behind you, I got him. Appreciate that. I ain't even hear him behind me. Far right, behind garbage can. Got him. Yo, how did you see him? Man on top of the building, east. He took 2 steps and a half, and he just crouched. Top of the building. Got him. Yo, your headphones is crazy. Thank you. These are limited edition Astro 5000s. Wait, mom's in the trash can? Mom in the trash can. Bro, what? Your mom is in the trash can? She's searching? What are you talking about? She found your report card. She got the report card. Yo, how you know I threw my report card away? She's looking at it. She's getting mad. Bro. She's on the move. She's pushing stairs! What? Whoa, 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 bro.
She's in her room. She's in her room. She's looking for something. She's looking for something. She's got the belt. She's got the belt.
Bro.
She's pushing your room. She's pushing your room.
Bro.
Hide. Behind you, I got him.
Appreciate that. I ain't even hear him behind me.
Far right, behind garbage can.
Those who have watched The Matrix tend to categorize the story as black and white, heroes versus villains, good versus evil. But after each sequel and spin-off, after each piece of media was deciphered, we learned that the truth is much more complicated, and that perhaps there are no clear heroes or villains. One of the most beloved and hated characters in the Matrix franchise is Cypher, the Judas who betrayed the Savior and his followers, so that he could be rewarded with the prize of returning to the simulation rich and famous, and with all the delicious and juicy steaks he could eat. But ironically, time proved that this man was telling the truth, and that behind his words and actions lie a warning of what was really happening inside the Matrix. Cypher saw through the lies of the Oracle and Morpheus, but his treachery only resulted in his demise. What happens when a person who was freed from the Matrix chooses to return to that prison? Was Cypher right? As we continue to wait for news about The Matrix 5, let's take a look back at 5 interesting details and theories about Cypher, the traitor, or prophet, depending on how you interpret his story. Do you want to know his secrets? And could he possibly return in The Matrix 5? Welcome to Matrix Explained.
You've been lied to. When you get caught, you're told to throw on rubbing alcohol, let it dry out. Praise.
Could possibly want. So why are they laying off thousands of people?
Ubisoft has crossed the line. In their seemingly never-ending downfall, they have chose to blame you, me, Steam, and everybody else for bashing their games and putting them in financial risk. Never mind the fact that their games on average are premium-priced, microtransaction-infested slop with inflated playtime to push player spending, all the while delivering a gaming experience that's akin to tasteless gruel. No. It couldn't be that. No, it's you. It's your fault. It's the campaigns against their games and their public statements. They're calling us an organized group now. I thought we were just customers. I have never seen a company that has been so committed to putting their own foot in their mouth that they then proceed to swallow their entire leg. I am so happy to watch this company fail because it sends a crystal clear message to the rest of this industry. Did you know that you love microtransactions and you think they're fun? Ubisoft says so. With the world at bated breath, waiting for Ubisoft's response to its catastrophic downfall and its constant controversies, they've come forward with their annual financial report, and their investors hammered them with questions they never saw coming. And their CEO fumbled badly. They start blaming everybody else, disregarding and misrepresenting the needs of players. They start scrambling for excuses when their investors start asking about Assassin's Creed Shadows as well as Star Wars Outlaws. And would you believe it? Games journalists are still defending them. But before that, a word from today's sponsor, Displate. Displate makes high-quality metal posters that mount magnetically. No tools, no frames, and no wall damage. I've been using these guys for over 5 years now, and I cannot recommend them enough. They've been great through every single move, swap, and everything else. They have over 1 million designs, games, anime, movies, fantasy art. Whatever you're into, it's probably on the site. And when I finally get to have a permanent studio set up, I'm planning on dedicating an entire wall to just Displate. Some of my favorite anime and games, and maybe I'll even splurge a little bit and get a full texture set or something like that. It is the easiest way that I have found to give a space a bit of personality without trashing the walls. They're super easy to mount, switch out, and they actually look good on camera. At least I think so myself. So if you're looking to decorate or just want a space that doesn't look like a blank white box, check them out. Go to displate.com or follow the link in the description below and use my code LEGENDARY at checkout to get the best deal. Thank you to Displate for sponsoring this video. You would think that after years of collapsing sales, franchise fatigue, and nearly universal backlash, Ubisoft might stop and ask, you know, is there something that we're doing wrong? Is there something that we should learn from this? But instead of reflecting, they've doubled down. In their latest financial report, Ubisoft doesn't describe player frustration as feedback, it calls it bashing. And now, according to them, public criticism isn't just unwelcome, it's a risk factor for the business. Directly from their financial report, it reads, Ubisoft is exposed to risks of damage to its reputation resulting from online bashing, understood as massive, sometimes virulent and organized campaigns of criticism against its products, teams, and public statements. These campaigns may occur on social media, content distribution platforms, or in certain specialized media, particularly following strategic decisions, technical issues affecting games, or statements perceived as controversial by certain segments of the public. The changing perception of the video game industry as a cultural and artistic medium is also leading to an increase in criticism based on ideological or societal considerations, sometimes to the detriment of technical or gameplay aspects. This trend increases the risk of publishers such as Ubisoft of being exposed to controversy relating to social, moral, or identity standards associated with their productions. Man, Ubisoft immediately shows their hand. According to them, the problem isn't the state of their games, it's you, it's the community, it's the backlash, the people that are pointing out what's broken. In their minds, you're not offering feedback, you're mounting an organized campaign, you're not frustrated by years of recycled open worlds and corporate ideology infecting every creative decision. No, you're just part of a virulent trend. Then they go as far to say that societal criticism is distracting from technical or gameplay aspects, as if those two things are not directly connected to each other, as if games don't suffer when they're built around shallow politics, performative casting, and tone-deaf writing instead of just cohesive gameplay and coherent worlds. This is what happens when a publisher is more concerned with optics than outcomes. They stop listening, they stop reflecting, and they start categorizing criticism itself as a threat to be neutralized. This is not a studio that's taking responsibility. This is a studio that is pathologizing dissent. These guys work for the CDC now. It's a desperate attempt to frame public frustration as some kind of unfair attack because, well, the alternative would be admitting that maybe, just maybe, people might actually have a point. But hey, at least they're identifying the problem, right? At least they see that something is broken, that people are pointing something out. That is a step in the right direction, or at least it would be until you read how they plan to mitigate this risk. In order to prevent and limit these risks, Ubisoft has implemented internal reputation monitoring, crisis management, and content moderation systems, has adapted its communication strategy to reflect this new context, and its legal and human resources departments have developed appropriate processes to respond to these attacks on its reputation. Also, calls on external partners to support in its monitoring and crisis management strategy. So just to be clear, Ubisoft's solution to being criticized for making bad games is to surveil and suppress. Not to fix the games, not to listen, not to examine the very clear reasons why people are upset. No, their answer is reputation monitoring, crisis management protocols, and content moderation systems. Basically PR fire suppression. They didn't build new pipelines for player feedback, they're building systems to be able to deflect it. They're not improving their output, they're building defenses against people pointing out the rot. They even roped in legal and HR because now apparently criticism is a workplace threat, because if somebody says this game sucks a little bit too loud online, Ubisoft wants a team of lawyers and crisis handlers ready to classify it as reputational damage. That's how fragile these people have become. And just to tie it all off, they include external partners. Ubisoft is almost certainly referring to platform holders here. Steam, Xbox, PlayStation. They're not bringing these people in to be able to improve their work. They're bringing them in to be able to monitor you, keep tabs on you, flag dissent, control perception. And in fact, we know that's the case because last year it was reported that Ubisoft was asking Steam to hide concurrent player data. This isn't risk mitigation, it's image management at the expense of reality. They're more invested in preserving the illusion of quality than actually achieving it. And if you've ever wondered why this industry feels so hollow right now, why it feels like no one in power is actually listening, this is why. If Ubisoft actually wanted to win players back, they'd be focused on quality, on listening to the overwhelming amount of feedback that they've been getting about how much people hate the way that they've designed their games and how they're paying full price for single player games only to find them packed with microtransaction shops, battle pass mechanics, mechanics and pay to progress shortcuts, but instead, their financial report spends paragraphs trying to justify it. And I quote, "New methods of gaming and forms of monetization have emerged in recent years on PC and consoles. This is the case in particular with free-to-play and subscription models, which in parallel with the premium model, offer a possibility of reaching a wider and more diverse public and strengthening player engagement." Followed by the real punchline, the monetization offer within premium games makes the player experience more fun by allowing them to personalize their avatars and progress more quickly. However, this is always optional. Yes, microtransactions, famously fun. I love paying to skip parts of a game that I just paid $70 for. Players all over the world right now are begging for more economic friction in their escapist hobbies, right? Look, man, I get it. People do engage with microtransactions. I've done it. If I love a game, I'll support it, but that's not what's happening here. This isn't about rewarding great work. It's about forcing monetization into single player games that were never designed for it. And when you do that, you break the very reason why people play those games. Just look at Assassin's Creed Shadows. Some of the coolest looking equipment, gear that's not just cosmetic, by the way, is locked behind a premium shop in a full priced RPG. Why explore? Why hunt for secrets and search every single corner of the map if you know that the best stuff isn't in the world? It's in your wallet. And of course, it's not like it stops there. The entire base building mechanic in Assassin's Creed Shadows, which directly affects progression and power, is strangled behind resource collection limits. The most valuable resources, or the most amount of resources that you can capture, you have to call in supply runs, but those calls are limited and recharge over time. It's like a fucking mobile game. So what's their solution? Well, buy resource bundles with real money. That is intentional design. That is a system that is built around monetization in a premium game. It doesn't matter what game it is. If you want to sell microtransactions, the game has to create a need for it. That means limiting rewards, padding out progression, and turning achievement into frustration. And that always comes at the cost of enjoyment. These companies treat microtransactions like a silver bullet for profit, but they have a ceiling. They can only make sense in certain types of games, and single-player RPGs are not one of them. If anything, they poison the entire experience, and players aren't just opting out of these games, they're walking away consciously because they don't want to engage with any of this crap, and subconsciously because they're not rewarded properly and the game just doesn't feel good to play anymore. I don't think that Ubisoft is ever going to come to terms with this, because in doing so, that would mean confronting a truth that they have spent years refusing to see. This is a company that does not want to be in touch with reality. I remember when I was speaking with former and current Ubisoft employees during one of my earlier investigations. Some of them had survived the layoffs, but others hadn't. But one thing that they all pointed to was the exact same: a culture of toxic positivity. A QA specialist had told me that they were not allowed to directly tell somebody what they did wrong. They could only share solutions. You couldn't criticize, you couldn't identify the problem, you could only reframe failure as a soft, vague suggestion. And oh, by the way, make sure to put a smiley face at the end of your email, otherwise you might be in an HR meeting. At Ubisoft, ignorance is bliss. That mindset infects everything. You can see it now, you can see it plain as day, especially when Ubisoft now turns around and blames the current reputation of the Star Wars franchise for the underperformance of Star Wars Outlaws, as if that explains anything, as if people didn't love Rogue One, as if Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor weren't some of the best-selling Star Wars games of the last decade. Even Battlefront 2, the game that was once dragged for its monetization, has now found new life. Star Wars is fine. What isn't fine is them. The only thing holding any project back, game, show, or movie, is quality. It's whether the audience enjoys it, whether it's fairly priced, whether it respects the time and the attention of the people that showed up to support it. But instead of aiming for that, Ubisoft keeps chasing these top-down, politically correct visions of demographic reach, convincing themselves that if they just hit every checkbox and if they pack it full of microtransactions, that they'll just manufacture success. It's fucking delusion, and worse, it's disconnection. These executives are not living in the same world as the rest of us. Lack of accountability, suppressed feedback, deflection. These are the things that are killing Ubisoft right now, and they're going to keep killing Ubisoft until there's nothing left, until the last studio that they have is just quietly swallowed up by Tencent. Staying in tune with your audience, relating to them, understanding their needs, and evolving with them, these things are not optional. It is the bare minimum, and for whatever reason, Ubisoft feels like they are just immune to it. Crisis management for a video game company. Are you guys kidding me? Nowhere in the 400-page financial report, yes, I read the entire thing, unfortunately, not a single time did they bring up how feedback against their games was valid in any way, or that their games need to change in any significant way. It's just monitoring, watching, monetization strategies and trends. The only thing I saw related to quality was them saying that it seems that today players are more sensitive to quality. No shit, Sherlock. You guys are charging $70 for video games, $80 in some cases, and half the time they can't even run on a 4090. What do you expect? You guys are selling sailboats without a mast and handing players a paddle and saying figure it out. Sorry, selling players a paddle with diamonds for $29.99, completely optional. Microtransactions are fun. Fuck you. That's all I have to say. That level of delusion is only enjoyed by people that are so detached from reality that they cannot even comprehend what it is like to relate to just common people. Things are already so hard for people in the middle class and lower class right now. There's so much extra chip damage. Everything is so expensive. Do you think people really want this stuff in their single player games? What are you thinking? It's fun. If you guys thought that that was the worst of it, we're not even close to being done yet. Because after this financial report, Ubisoft ended up having a Q&A with their investors, and these guys came out swinging. I'm talking brutal, monstrous questions that these guys were just not ready for. And Ubisoft's CEO did not handle it well. Ubisoft has managed to place itself at the center of nearly every single industry controversy over the last half decade. Their stock price hasn't recovered, investor confidence is still shaky, and during this month's annual town hall, leadership was pressed hard about the company's future, their social ideologies used in Assassin's Creed Shadows, its performance, and more. Yves Guillemot, Ubisoft's CEO, fielded questions directly in a live Q&A following a series of bold claims about the company's strategy, financials, and public perception. And wouldn't you know it, games journalists tried to cover for them and reframe the criticism. Lewis Packwood of GamesIndustry.biz summarized the questions in an article titled "Nothing is Written in Stone. Ubisoft Head Responds to Stop Killing Games Petition." They write, first they asked him about Assassin's Creed Shadows, which stars a real-life 16th century African samurai. The questioner asked, there's been a lot of controversy regarding that game, adding that Ubisoft has been accused and criticized for this wokeist trend. So woke or no woke, he continued. How do you explain Ubisoft's deteriorated reputation, which may actually challenge the foundations of your organization? Or are you going to backtrack or backpedal on this leftist political agenda? Is there room in the entertainment world for that kind of stance? Second, the questioner brought up Stop Killing Games, citing the crew specifically. He said, so do you support the petition? At the end of the day, when a player buys a Ubisoft game, do they own it? Or is there a chance that they may no longer be able to play that game years later? Guillemot responded to the first question by pointing out that Yasuke was someone who existed in real life and showcasing a character that has been extremely successful, and that is why we decided to tell that story. In regards to the second question, Guillemot noted Ubisoft provides information for how long a game can be played and that players are forewarned when a game is about to be discontinued. You provide a service, but nothing is written in stone. At some point, a service may be discontinued. Nothing is eternal, and we're doing our best to make sure that things go well for all players and buyers, because obviously support for all games can't last forever. But that's an issue that we're working on. That's something that the industry at large is working on to minimize impact on players. But clearly, that's something that you need to factor in. He continued by pointing out that software tools can become obsolete or unavailable over time, and that's why we release a new version. And so we have a second version, and then a version 3. But clearly, this is a far-reaching issue, and we're working on it. Yeah, see, what you're actually describing there is called planned obsolescence. It's a pipeline of continued revenue designed to devalue the product that you already bought and pressure you into buying the next one that they make. Only in the case of the games industry, their plan is just to take away what you bought to force you into the next. Now, I want to point something out so you guys can see how sometimes these games journalists will sidestep actual issues instead of reporting on what was actually said. Sometimes they will paraphrase, sanitize, and reframe until the core of the question completely disappears. The article claims that the question was about Ubisoft being criticized for a wokeist trend over starring a real-life 16th century African samurai, but that was not the question that was asked. What was actually asked was, there's been a lot of controversy around Assassin's Creed Shadows, which stars a 16th century black samurai, a bold choice for Ubisoft. He gets to fall in love with a transgender character, so woke or no woke? See how different that is? The article reduces it to a race-based question, stripping out the identity politics entirely, and in doing so, it pretends that the controversy is just about casting alone, when in reality, it's about the broader ideological choices and the growing tensions between creative direction and audience expectations. This is what the media does when they want to discredit criticism. They zoom in on a single dot and then mock the people that are pointing at it, conveniently ignoring that that dot is a part of a graph, one with a visible trend, a trajectory, and a pattern that people are reacting to. That is not journalism, that is editorial filtering. And Guillemot's response wasn't any better. They conveniently also left out how he fumbled through a tone-deaf justification, saying that when you get to play the game is full of characters, the characters actually blend in with the game. Then pivoted to, we wanted to showcase a hero's journey. Everybody wants to play a hero's journey. It's a powerful expectation. This isn't just about Ubisoft or manga series. This is someone who really existed, and showcasing that character has been extremely successful. None of this actually answers the question, it just avoids it, and that's the problem when both the media and leadership refuse to engage honestly with criticism, when they pretend that it's not happening or they rewrite it to sound easier to dismiss. These studios never learn the right lessons. That's how you end up with games that alienate their audiences and underperform. The whole reason why players are complaining is specifically because these games are full of characters that don't blend in with the game. They stand out, they make a statement, that's what they're there to do, and it's obvious that that statement is one that is clearly not resonating with their core audiences that Ubisoft built these franchises for. It blows my mind that we still cannot have this conversation openly. Developers need to come to terms with the reality that the values that they want to express aren't always going to be shared by their audience, and when those ideas are handled with zero nuance, when the writing is shallow, when the characters are visual repellent, and everything else feels like it was designed to provoke rather than connect, it's going to backfire. These games don't showcase identity, they parade it around like it's a warning label. We're seeing this in other games too, with unattractive characters. It's as if they think that they can just make people like ugly by forcing it into every single game design. Guys, nobody wants to buy a lecture. I am here to buy a video game. I mean, Guillemot said it himself, they chose to showcase Yasuke because they saw he was already extremely successful. In other words, they saw him trending somewhere else, they saw him used somewhere else, and they decided to repurpose that image to serve their own narrative. They then layered on a romance subplot with a trans character, not because it actually served the story, but because it helped tick every single possible demographic box in a blind attempt to reach a wider audience. But all it does is just tokenize those identities by having it appear somewhere out of place. It flattens these complex social issues and realities into marketing beats. This is not representation, this is opportunism. And trying to spin that backlash as players being uncomfortable with a black protagonist is just insulting. It's so lazy. These games aren't being rejected because of who's in them. They're being rejected because they suck and people can see straight through the intent, because these stories feel hollow, these characters feel forced, and the audience that you're trying to pander to, this so-called virtuous crowd that you see on the internet you're trying to impress, they don't even show up to buy your games. I also had noticed how a lot of writers conveniently left out the very first question in the Q&A, a direct ask about the budget and sales performance of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Guillemot dodged it entirely, saying that Ubisoft doesn't disclose its sales or production costs, but in the same breath then admitted that they had over 5 million players and that it cost over 100 million euro to make, and it also required a very heavy investment into its engine. Seeing that most AAA games today, especially open world games, cost over $300 million to make, and even if we're being generous and pretending that the 5 million players actually means 5 million units sold, which we know it doesn't because it also has their subscription services in there, and even if we assume that every copy sold was sold for $70, which it hasn't because the game has already been on sale multiple times and is currently on sale for 25% off just 4 months after its release, you're still looking at a game that only made $350 million in gross revenue before Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation take their cuts. And let's be real, profitable, high-performing games don't get discounted this fast unless something went wrong, especially from a publisher in Ubisoft's financial condition. I make these videos because I want the industry to learn, because I'm hoping that somebody is actually listening, and I try to make sure that these criticisms and my points are laser focused so that they can't be taken out of context, even though they likely will regardless of whatever I say. But I want people to be heard. I want players to be heard. I want people's identities to be protected and respected and properly represented and not turned into fucking campaign talking points more than anything. Just own up to your mistakes. Make a good game. You're making games for people, not for demographics. Then they go on to stop killing games. I love that line that they put in. You provide a service, but nothing is written in stone. At some point, a service may be discontinued. Nothing is eternal. We're trying to do our best for both players and buyers. That's crazy, man. All my N64 games and PS2 games, those were they services or products? Because they still work right now.
Things come to an end.
Notice how they phrase it. Both players and buyers. Notice how we're already being separated into classes. You know, I just realized recently that the reason why these companies have been changing to reporting players instead of units sold, one side benefit is that they actually get to hide their performance, but the other part of it is to just erase the idea of ownership. It's slimy as hell, but that's exactly why they're doing it. Because he's calling games a service even when he's still talking about buyers, but you can't buy a service. You pay for a service. You subscribe to a service. Buying is the act of acquiring something. You don't acquire that because it's not yours. I didn't know that these executives could rewrite the laws of language to be able to suit their quarterly earnings call. I genuinely do not think that these corporations or a lot of these companies have just caught up to the modern era and how fast information travels, and they don't realize how easy it is for regular people to see through their bullshit. All the constant reframing, all the things that they take out of context, the corporate doublespeak, everything they use to be able to manipulate these narratives in their favor. It used to work, but it doesn't work anymore. And right now, all people want is humility and accountability. And they're getting neither of those. And the longer that continues to go on, the more of these companies are going to continue to suffer. And the more of these companies that are just going to go out of business entirely. And as you guys already know, I am here for it. Please keep doing what you're doing, because then that means that other companies, a lot of these indie publishers that actually understand what the needs of players are today, that are supporting some of the grassroots movements within this industry, some of the people that are actually going out and supporting Stop Killing Games publicly, those are the guys that are going to take over. And those are the people that I want running this industry. That's all I got. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, share it with your friends. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. I go live on Friday. Today is Friday. Or is it? Depending on where you watch it or when you watch it. Anyway, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Family, 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 family.
Go to displate.com or follow the link in the description below and use my code LEGENDARY at checkout to get the best deal. Thank you to Displate for sponsoring this video.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Europe and Intel, so
good
hot
news.
right now. No, Firefox can't even handle the heat from that wombo combo, Europe plus Intel. Another record-setting heat wave grips Western Europe and has had an unexpected consequence: overloading Mozilla's support team. Mozilla has had to disable crash reports from PCs that are equipped with Raptor Lake CPUs due to unprecedented instability from the lineup of already hot-running chips. The worst of the bunch is the Core i7 14700K. Wow. That's right, my friends. The temperature is so much higher in Western Europe right now that these already on edge 14th gen, and I guess, yeah, 13th gen as well, CPUs
the abyss
are being pushed over the threshold from stability to instability by this heat wave. That's right, not even Mother Nature herself can help from dogpiling on Intel's troubled CPU lineup. And the worst part is 13th and 14th gen are the ones that are selling. As far as I can tell, Core Ultra 200 series has been a gigantic wet fart of a CPU launch. I can't even imagine me from 5 years ago being able to predict that Intel could possibly move this little of a new generation of product. Like, check this out, okay? Is Core Ultra even here in the Shop by series? Will Core i9 bring it up? The answer is no.
Whoa.
That right there tells you everything you need to know. That is how irrelevant Core Ultra is. Hold on a second. Let's keep going. Motherboard. Intel motherboards. 1851.
Is there more hive mind thinking now than in the past?
I think a little bit, yeah.
When the AMD chips were like pretty terrible for a long time there, you could still find them quite easily.
Yeah, but that was because that's all they have. Intel's still selling 13th and 14th gen. Like, those are still moving okay as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So what is this? The sort by best selling. Oh my god. These chips have been out for... How the frick long have these chips been out for? Intel Core Ultra Linus. Hold on a second. When did our... Thank you for trying Intel. 8 months ago. 8 months ago these chips came out. The top selling board is running at $77 off. This is a Tomahawk Z890 board for $240 and has only 105 reviews. Are you kidding me right now? Oh my god, it's worse. Holy crap, it's worse. I saw this and I was like, oh yeah, I mean there's a bunch of boards that have like, you know, 50 something, 60
like,
something
that's a tough
reviews.
Board. Like,
No.
To actually have quite a few.
Dude, Luke, it's so much worse. They're pooling reviews. All these boards with 67 are the same product page. Across ASUS's entire Z890 lineup, there are 67 reviews. Holy fucking shit.
Wow. That's nuts, actually. Oh my.
Like, I was already looking at just a handful of boards that have like 50 plus reviews. That's already not great. That's cumulative. And the MSI one is across a bunch of boards as well. 105 reviews across. And I'm going to read them all just to make this point. The MPG Z890i Edge TI Wi-Fi, the Z890 Gaming Plus Wi-Fi, Z890S Wi-Fi, Pro Z890A Wi-Fi, Pro Z890P Wi-Fi, MPG Z890 Edge TI Wi-Fi, MPG Z890 Carbon Wi-Fi, Meg Z890 Ace, and Meg Z890 Tomahawk Wi-Fi. 105 reviews.
Even time itself.
That's,
Okay, hold on. I got people asking me some stuff. They're asking me some stuff in the float plane chat. They're like, okay, hold on a second though, Linus. Go to Amazon. Maybe Newegg just doesn't sell motherboards anymore. So let's do it. Okay. Z890. Here we go. Okay, hold on. Maybe Amazon's doing a little better. But seriously, hold on. This is the first result. 50 plus bought in the last month? Okay. Let me put that in context, okay? This was the first result on the page. And yes, these are... Oh, hold on. Are these pooled as well? Oh, hold on. Are these pooled? Maybe they're pooled. Maybe they're not. Oh, wow. I don't think they're pooled, but most of these are pretty low. There's a couple that have like 1,100. Okay. But for the most part, we're looking at like 21 reviews at 50 plus bought, 8 reviews, 50 plus bought in the last month. I actually love this, like how many people are buying this. Here's the overall pick with 800 reviews. Okay, so Newegg is not doing a good job of either selling motherboards, I guess, or of soliciting reviews. But let me put this in context. These numbers, like 50 plus, 100 plus.
Where do we come from?
Okay, I used to work at a Canadian retailer that realistically, you know, for being real, their presence was mostly felt in like Western Canada. These would not be unrealistic motherboard sales numbers for us. The US market at the time was, I think, about 12 times the size, and now would be larger than it was back then. What? Oh man. Yeah, I mean, look.
It's not a good state for the industry. Just to be.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like be like a dive in front of giant billion-dollar Intel company guy, but like this is actually bad for the industry.
When Microsoft sucks and when Intel sucks, it's like actually kind of terrible for the entire PC industry. I mean, AMD has stepped up in a big way.
Big time.
And I'm really
Absolutely.
excited to see the way that Valve is pushing operating systems forward for PC users. Like, but it's still a really strong Intel and an innovative Intel and Microsoft is better for the industry, and I'm starting to lose hope that they're gonna figure it out.
I'm not.
Really?
I still got hope. I still got hope.
I believed in Pat, but I don't know if I've seen much from Lip Bhutan that has made me super encouraged about Intel's trajectory. I'm a little more hopeful about Microsoft. Sort of.
I think there's still Pat era things to go though, right?
You hear that?
Yeah, there's product coming, but like they are. But my issue is that there's a 3-year lag, right? 3 to 4 year lag on anything that a chip company does. So even if some good stuff happens over the next little bit, good job, Pat. Well, what about 3-4 years from now when all of the cuts that they're making are gonna finally be felt? Like, okay, so like I don't know, it's the same problem you have with politics, right? Where someone just totally useless can come in, blame all the current problems on their predecessor, enjoy all the good things their predecessor did to improve stuff, and then be useless, and then leave office, and then the next guy has to deal with all the problems they created. Like the way the cycle is set up, nobody ever actually takes accountability for their own issues and gets to take credit for the good things that their predecessor did. And I feel like that's basically what we're looking at here. I'm okay.
Yeah, Tap's still there.
Yeah, Tom Peterson. Maybe Arc will be okay. Oh, hey, hold on. Someone told me that Arc is at MSRP. I never did hear back. from that Intel VP who promised me that I was going to get an answer on that. But
Great.
if the cards are available for MSRP, then I'm over it. Okay, that's damn close. You know what? I'm officially
Arcs are
over
cool,
it.
man. Arcs are genuinely. I have said this on WAN Show a bunch of times, but that video that Plouffe and David did is actually incredible. Current era arcs are really cool. Next gen arcs, I like. You know, there's always the like, it's going to be good next time. They're already good. I'm very excited about next time.
Onyx Odyssey Arc B580 12 gig GDDR6 $259.99 newegg.com free shipping. That counts.
Wicked deal.
$10 over MSRP with free shipping. I count it.
Yeah, I'd count that too.
I count it. Good job. Good job, Intel. That's an affordable card that I can recommend. You might find the occasional graphical anomaly. Report it. They're working so hard to fix this stuff.
Yeah, that team genuinely feels very dedicated. It feels so weird, but like a lot of my hope for the future for Intel lies in their GPU division, which sounds nuts to say.
Well, yeah, but that's where they've got to catch up, and they're looking pretty good. Nvidia did not have a great generation this time around.
No,
like even on the data center
that's
side,
very charitable.
even on the data center side, like there have been delays. There's been issues around heat. Like, dude, opportunity. Let's go.
Oh yeah, big time.
I really hope B770 cancellation is fake. I hope that comes, because that would be just flippin' so exciting. Like if we could have a decent card at like $399, $499. Like,
yeah. I do agree, but I'm gonna say something maybe a little contrarian here. If it wouldn't be that good, I hope they don't do it.
Interesting. So you don't want to see the momentum and the buzz die down.
100%.
But what if they needed to get some revenue to like justify the existence of this entire bloody department?
Obey.
Yeah, and that might be critical right now, looking at how the company's going. If it wasn't critical, I would prefer that they didn't do that, just because
I think it's critical.
Yeah, I mean, if it's critical, you got to do what you got to do. There really isn't decision making at that point. You got to keep the lights on. It's just the thing that worries me is, honestly, that video that I keep talking about didn't get a ton of views, which to me means that there isn't a lot of public interest in the Intel cards yet, despite them being good.
Maybe we just need to do, like, you know what? Plouffe and I were talking on set the other day about how long it's been since we've done a build guide. Like, we have How to Build a PC, the last guide you'll ever need. Like, we've even refreshed it once, but it's thick. That's a thick video. It's like 2 hours long.
Yeah,
like maybe we do like a 45-minute, you know? Here's how to build this specific PC, and we just do it with Arc. It's at MSRP now. I can, with a straight face, make a video where I say, here's a great $800 gaming computer that you can go buy right now. We're gonna play some games, upscaled 4K. Let's do it.
The power supply is not going to blow up.
Yeah.
Well,
yep. Lucas will make sure.
We can highly suggest that the power supply won't blow up. We don't. Yep. We can't know.
My will and body.
Yeah. That'd be cool. That'd be pretty sweet.
Hello everyone, my name's Tomato Anus, also known as Richard Skinny, and today we're going over a segmented scriptless speedrun of Half-Life and how a top runner for the game, Kananga, beats it in just 26 minutes. Kana put together this run specifically for this video, and he also helped with writing the script to make sure it's all as accurate as possible. Half-Life came out on November 19th, 1998. Happy birthday, you can now rent a car without extra fees. And in it, you play as science dude Morgan Freeman. After an experiment on a crystal of alien origin goes wrong, a portal is open to a dimension mansion named Zen, and now there's critters everywhere. The game normally takes place over the span of 18 chapters, but the first one is just a 6-minute long tram ride, so speedruns of the game start in the second chapter, Anomalous Materials. Couple things to run through real quick. At the bottom of the screen, there are 2 numbers. The bottom one is Kana's current horizontal speed, while the top one is what his speed was when he last jumped. The normal walking speed is 320 units, but you can walk at speeds of over 490 if you strafe, which is holding both forward and either left or right while turning your mouse left or right. Strafing on the ground is most commonly used to start a bunny hopping chain. When you strafe in this context, it's typically referred to as pre-strafing. Bunny hopping is the main movement method in the run. Kana will repeatedly jump as soon as he touches the ground so that he doesn't deal with the floor trying to slow him down to a normal movement speed. Humans ain't perfect though. It's impossible to consistently jump on the exact frame you touch the ground, so there's almost always going to be a tiny bit of speed loss from ground friction. There's a speedrun category called scripted where runners are allowed to use scripts to automatically do things like perfectly bunny hop, but this video is covering a scriptless speedrun where only human inputs are allowed. So while Kana bunny hops, he's also going to air strafe where he holds either left or right while turning the direction he's holding. So if he air strafes left, he's holding left while in air while turning his camera to the left. Air strafing builds your speed, and when you couple it with bunny hopping, you can go a little fast. There's a couple other small things to mention, but we'll get into those right after this. Previously on Tomato Anus.
This jacket must be a time machine. Can I move in with you guys? I think I want to move out. Hey, Chicago guy, now that Gavin's moved out, maybe we should ask Rocky Mountain guy to move back in. And what's going on here? I accidentally made a lot of me by time traveling. Huh, so we end up getting a roommate at some point. Hey, you can't talk. You're not allowed to talk. What are they all holding? Oh, those are disc plates. Oh, no way. I've seen Pastoni Tony Marinara talk about those, don't you know? Yeah, they're super neat. They have a bunch of official brands they work with, like Warhammer, Mortal Kombat, Sega, and more. Aren't they also manufactured in the EU and arrive within 4 to 5 days? Yep. Not to get political, but they're also super.
The first of the last things to cover before starting the run is that this run is done on the World Opponent Network version of the game, 1 for short. This is the version from before Steam existed as a platform, and it's used because the Steam version has a movement speed cap of 544 units per second, while the 1 version has a speed cap in the 2000s. Next, this run is done on the easy difficulty since enemies deal a little less damage, and you also get more health and armor from things like batteries, medkits, and chargers. The run used to be done on hard because there's a skip that was believed to only be possible on hard, but a way was found to do it on easy as well, and now easy runs are simply the fastest way to beat the game. And lastly, there's a thing he's going to do right at the start of the run called wall strafing. This is where you walk alongside a wall while holding both forward and the direction into the wall. So if the wall is on your left, you hold forward and left. It essentially serves the same purpose as pre-strafing with
Alright. Tomorrow I need to wake up pretty early, considering Saturday, and I usually don't really wake up early.
The
Saturday.
abyss is like the world's shadow.
So
It's
yeah,
always
that's going to
there.
wait for this
It
show.
will never perish.
I'll see you next time.